sensation. I had never felt quite like it before. I was free above the planet Earth, and I saw it, so it was rotating majestically below me.
I love that, because here this is the evil empire, yet this was just a guy doing something historic. Appreciating the beauty of it all. And you know, I just remember as a youth, the Russians were just mean and nasty and evil, and they were all ugly and dumb, and here you have footage of this guy, nothing mean, ugly, or dumb about it, appreciating what he's doing. So I just love that little clip there of that first spacewalk. Yep. Are you ready? Is it recording again? Oh.
Alright, so I did Sputnik. When it was launched October 4th, 1957 at 7:28 p.m. It took 96 minutes for Sputnik to orbit Earth, and it was the first artificial satellite sent to space by the Soviets. I have a picture of the Sputnik, the satellite right here, and that's the ship that they sent it up in, and how it got out into orbit of the Earth. Gemini rendezvous and docking wouldn't happen in 1962 through 1966. The program was basically a testing program that led up to the landing on the moon. They were testing a rendezvous, which is orbiting a planet and connecting or bringing the two space shuttles together. And docking was bringing them both to connect to each other. And so when the rendezvous happens, they orbit Earth, or orbit the moon and stuff. And then docking, they take the two parts, the smaller and the bigger part, and then they connect together, and they attach it, then they insert him back. And Ed White was the first person to ever do the spacewalk, or the first American to ever do the spacewalk. And here I have a GIF of what docking looks like. Basically, it's connection of two.
What happens if they miss?
Well, so here's the deal.
Right out there?
This was, they had two methods that we were gonna get a human to the moon. There was one method with a really big rocket, and they were gonna have all the supplies already on the moon, they were gonna send a really big rocket, and it was gonna land on the moon, and then that really big rocket was gonna launch back off the moon. The other idea was to gradually put stuff into orbit around Earth, and then send that to the moon. There was an engineer, I can't remember the guy's name, but he proposed, what if instead of having the stuff built in Earth's orbit and sending it to the moon, what if we send everything they need to the moon and then have them separate? And have just the lighter part of the craft land on the moon, while everything you need to get back, where's the moon at? Here. That's really not to scale, but hold the moon up for me. And so we would get to the moon and go into orbit, and then we're going to separate and just let what we need down on the surface go down to the surface while the rest of the spacecraft stays in orbit. Then when we're done, we launch back up, and they find each other, and so it was lunar orbit rendezvous instead of Earth orbit rendezvous. And they were very down on this, the higher ups at NASA were down on this idea, just because how are you going to connect out there in space? You have to make sure you're on the same level this way, and this way, and this way. How are you going to do that? And so they were able to figure it out by keeping a certain distance above the moon and using the stars as navigators. They were able to practice this with the Gemini mission in Earth orbit, rendezvous and docking. So they would separate and come back together, and they practiced it over and over again and got really good at it.